Back in high school, I gained the ability to read minds with just a touch. And I decided to use it to mess with everyone. When the school bully tried to hit me, I found myself high-fiving him and I heard his mind. Is this guy crazy? When he called me names, I grabbed his collar in anger and his face turned red. She's kind of cute after waking up hungover. I found myself back in high school with the power to hear people's inner thoughts with just a touch. The longer the touch, the more I could hear. I first realized this sitting in class. Totally confused when I heard a guy next to me say, "Linda, math homework." I turned to see my boyfriend of 4 years. My high school crush Eric. The same guy who later cheated on me. He had a stack of homework in his arms. And looked as cold as ever. Top student, aloof and not much of a talker. Just my type back then. But now I know it was all a facade. He was ambitious and cunning. And thinking about it now makes me sick. He reached for my homework. Annoyed that I wasn't responding. But I caught his hand. In that instant I heard his thoughts. Same old routine, finding any excuse to touch me. Playing it cool. I let go and the mind reading stopped. As he was about to leave I called out, "Wait." Eric stopped, puzzled as I touched his face. "Why are you so bold today? Rich girls have no boundaries. Honestly, if your family wasn't loaded, I'd never give you the time of day." I patted his face and said, "I can't take it anymore." "So you'll have to." "Eric, what?" Before he finished speaking, I swung my arm and slapped him. The slap echoed through the classroom. And everyone turned shocked. Eric's face was visibly swollen. And I shook out my hand as I patted his face again. "Wow, you've got thick skin." "My hand hurts." Without giving him another glance, I got up and left the classroom. My family is wealthy. So I never really faced hardships growing up. My parents spoiled me so much. I still had baby fat in high school. Not exactly Eric's type. But I crushed on him for 7 years. Later my family went bankrupt. My dad fell seriously ill and passed away. And my mom succumbed to depression the following year. Once I was of no use to him. Eric moved on to our manager's daughter. That's when I finally saw his true colors. Now that I have a chance to do it all over again, I'm going to make him regret it. But first things first. I need to see my healthy parents. I dashed out of the school. But the security guard stopped me, saying I needed a pass to leave. I turned towards the low wall behind the cafeteria, recalling how my classmates used to sneak out there. I never tried it though. Climbing was tough with my weight. Just as I managed to get a leg over the wall, I unexpectedly came face to face with a guy. Startled, I lost my balance and ended up falling on him. I landed right against his chest, hearing his heart pounding as he gasped for air. I hope I didn't hurt him. I got up quickly, pulling him up too. "Why so fast?" "Fast what?" I let go and finally saw his face. I felt stunned. It was the school bully Ben. For 3 years he ruled the school with his temper, even kicking dogs out of his way. Whenever we crossed paths, he always shot me a displeased look. So I avoided him. How did I end up falling on this hothead? Before I could apologize, Ben raised his hand and out of reflex I high-fived him. His thoughts immediately hit me. What did she just say? I realized he'd raised his hand to hit me. But hey, I'm not the same 18-year-old Linda anymore. I grabbed his collar. "What do you want?" His ears turned red and I heard his inner voice. "She's so cute." I was confused but intrigued. I loosened my grip and noticed Ben's handsome face retained a disgruntled expression. "What did you say?" He seemed peeved. That made sense. I must have misheard the cute comment. Ben stared at me puzzled. And I forced a laugh, brushing his crumpled shirt. "Your clothes are wrinkled and you're still handsome. Trying to kill people with that look." My fingertips accidentally brushed against his neck. "She called me handsome." I looked up, meeting his brooding gaze. Is he insane? Ben adjusted his clothes, eyeing me up and down. "Skipping class." I nodded robotically. He led the way outside. "Ditching Eric. Now you're a rebel." I paused. How does he know Eric? And I pointed back at the wall. "Weren't you climbing in?" Caught. Ben seemed frustrated, glaring at me. "What do you care? Maybe I want out now." I walked out in a daze, feeling a dry leaf in my hair. Was he trying to help remove it instead of hitting me? Ben walked away at the roadside, while I waited for a cab, but ended up considering taking a bus. Suddenly Ben rode up on his bike. "Where to? Home." "Hop on." I hesitated and he rolled his eyes. Are you coming or not? I'm just dropping you off. Don't tell anyone I skipped or you'll wish you hadn't. What logic is that? He's skipping just like me. Why would I snitch? Besides, he's offering me a ride. But I hesitated for a different reason. I looked down at my not-so-slim body. Then at the bike seat. I'm a bit heavy. Ben gave me a once-over before tossing me a helmet. Who said you're heavy? Are they blind? What do I do now? He's so moody, but I just love him. I hopped on the back seat and wrapped my arms around his waist. Just out of habit. The weather was scorching. And he was only wearing a short-sleeved shirt. So my hand brushed against his arm by accident. Ben was fast but steady. He dropped me off at home and took off. I rushed through the front door. And immediately dragged my mahjong playing parents to the hospital for a checkup. I only relaxed once the test results came back all clear. Seeing their confusion, I explained with mixed feelings a friend of mine. Their family had a crisis and their parents passed. Suddenly, I realized then just how closely death can hover. Dad, Mom. Maybe get a physical every 6 months from now on, okay? Their eyes were red and they patted my head, saying I'd grown up. The next day I woke up to an empty house. There was a note on the table. Dear daughter, your right life is short. Your dad and I realized this. After thinking it over all night. We've decided to travel the world. While we're still young. Stay home and study hard. Be good. I held the note standing there in a mess. How is this newfound enlightenment? You found yours? I'm just left stunned. My phone rang and seeing it was my mom. I figured. There's no way they'd just disappear like that. I picked up, didn't even have a chance to speak before my mom rushed out. We're boarding soon. So long story short. Your teacher called. Said you slapped a classmate in public. Get to school now. We're with you. You're not the kind to start trouble. If someone's bothering you, let them have it. We've got money. Then the line went dead. My heart warmed thinking of that jerk Eric. Guess I needed to head to school. This time. I'm going to finally shake off this toxic mess. The moment I gathered my things. Morning self-study had just ended. As I passed the hallway on the first floor. A book suddenly flew out of a classroom. Almost hitting me. Talk about no manners. I picked up the book at my feet. And aimed it back at the window. With all my might. Just before it left my hand. I heard a serious male voice. Ben, you'll get into college only if this book flies back on its own. Then a thud as the book hit the podium. Silence and then laughter erupted. Through the window. I exchanged a look with Ben. Seeing a hint of amusement in his eyes. Next thing I know, somebody's shouting. Who threw the book? I ducked fast. Scrambling under the window to dodge the teacher. As he came out. Just as I reached the classroom door, I bumped into Eric. Who was holding some papers. And could still make out a faint slap mark on his face. He paused when he saw me then. Linda, you're going to explain what happened yesterday. Right. I'm rich, not stupid. I stared icily at him. Start messing with me from now on. And I won't hesitate to make that face of yours. Perfectly symmetrical. As I was about to head in, Eric grabbed my wrist. You owe me an explanation. At the same time his inner thoughts slipped through. Before yesterday she was head over heels. What's going on with Linda? Did she find out it wasn't me who carried her to the nurse's office? Or does she know I swiped her wallet that time? Maybe it's about dropping the cheat notes under her desk. No way could she know. I've been trash talking her on Facebook with a fake account. You've got to be kidding me. I've heard of self-exposure, but his takes the cake. I pointed at him, speechless for a good while. Arguing with him felt like stepping in filth. I turned and dashed toward the teacher's office. You want to transfer classes? The class rep spat out his drink. Why? I said, bullying. He asked, who's bullying you? How is that happening in our class? I replied, no, I'm the bully. And if I can't switch, I might crack someone's head open. A nearby teacher's sipping team used. Kiddo, you sure love to joke. You call this bullying? Have you seen Ben from our class? Our students only leave. No one transfers, in making our numbers drop. Earnestly, I asked, can I join your class? Why? My grades are top 10 in school. I'm peaceful at heart. Can I? After discussing it with my parents. The transfer from the honors to the trailing class went through quickly. That afternoon I went to the class to gather my things. As I passed Eric. His words from before replayed in my mind. So I stopped. I looked right at him. In the second semester of sophomore year. When I collapsed in the corridor from stomach pain. It wasn't you who took me to the nurse's office. Shock flickered in Eric's eyes. I had caught feelings for him over this incident. Who was it then? Eric avoided my gaze, mumbling. I don't know what you're talking about. I grabbed his hand. She really found out. But what can Ben do with that knowledge anyway? So it was Ben. Standing at the entrance of classroom 13 with my bag. It was chaotic inside. Ben, sitting by the window in the last row, was gazing out at who knows what. The teacher patted me on the shoulder from behind. Come on, go in. As he spoke, most heads turned toward me. And Ben glanced over with one look. Tumbling off his desk dramatically. Laughter rolled through the room. But Ben's eyes only stayed on me. The teacher scanned the room. Then pointed to the seat next to Ben. For now, that's the only open seat. Settle there and we'll reshuffle after the midterms. Ben bent down suddenly. Probably pretending to tie his shoes. I walked past the desk, stopping next to Ben. Seeing him wiping my chair. Our eyes met. And he awkwardly wiped his shoes with a wet wipe. Saying with a hint of annoyance. I was just cleaning my shoes, not your chair. The teacher frowned at him. Linda was in class 1 and now she's here. Ben, don't give the new student a hard time. Ben turned his head, snorted. She better not mess with me then. Next up was language class. And Ben was doodling all over his book. As soon as it began, I wrote a note and slid it over. In sophomore year. You carried me to the nurse's office, right? Thanks. Ben froze for a moment. Then didn't change his expression. He scribbled a reply and passed it back. When I retrieved the note, my fingers brushed his hand. Today must be a good day. Everything's working out just fine. Tomorrow might just be too. He was singing in his head. And the note read, no big deal. Your aim's pretty good. I wrote back, about what? Ben, the book thrown back in the morning. Accidentally bumped it again. Spoke an extra word. I'm certain now. This school bully is the kind who says one thing. But means another. He turned his head to sleep with the back of his head facing me. I glanced out of the window and froze. He was sitting at the desk looking outside. Which was the direction of my old classroom. And at that window was my spot. What a coincidence. I lightly nudged Ben's arm. Can't sleep, too excited. I shouldn't have played basketball this morning. My hair is all messed up. Wait, do I smell sweaty? Hope not. He pretended to adjust his sleeping position. Subtly moving away from me. I couldn't help but laugh. Ben frowned and looked up. What are you laughing at? I nodded. What? After class, Ben left the room. And a girl in the front row quietly turned her head to ask me. Aren't you afraid sitting next to Ben? Why would I be? The girl's face looked frightened. He's really fierce. I heard he often fights. Many in our class are scared of him. You must feel sad being his desk mate. Here, have some chocolate. Thanks. I took the chocolate from her hand and heard her thoughts. So jealous. I want to sit with Ben too. He's so handsome. He never let anyone sit next to him before. This hearing thoughts thing is pretty creepy, honestly. It's like everyone's stripped down in front of me. They're not awkward, but I kinda am. As for her worries, this school bully in his heart is either setting off fireworks or celebrating. Nothing to be afraid of. Plus, Ben and I ran into each other again. During my senior year. My parents insisted I come back to meet someone for marriage. I agreed under the condition that Eric gets an internship. When I returned, it turned out to be Ben. Our moms were childhood friends and wanted to set us up. But my focus was on Eric. And remembering Ben's rebellious teenage demeanor, I awkwardly apologized in the restaurant. I recall Ben wearing a carefully chosen coat that day, making him look mature and dashing. He seemed surprised, shrugged it off and said, I'm being forced by my family. Anyway, I felt relieved. Then he said, you seem to be doing well. I didn't quite get it, so I just nodded. Then you will do even better. He smiled. That's my blessing to you. Reflecting back, Ben is bound to grow into a mature, responsible person. He's just a bit reckless at 17 or 18. Deep down, he's not bad. Nothing to fear. I went to the restroom, and when I returned, I noticed something odd. The table, previously wobbling due to an uneven leg, was now entirely stable. Looking down, I saw a stack of papers under the table leg. And that stack was Ben's 80-point math test. I glanced at Ben. He was sneaking looks at me and quickly looked away. When our eyes met. Thanks. Ben still maintained a grumpy exterior. It was who asked me to fix it, so annoying. I grinned. Your hands are pretty skilled. And there he goes setting off more mental fireworks. Half a month in and I finally settled into the new class. Only to be hit with another change. The housemaid won the lottery and quit. My parents couldn't find anyone trustworthy and finally remembered me. Mom called. Honey, we can't bear to leave you alone. Noisy bar sounds on her end though. I wasn't buying it. But my aunt was back in town. And my mom asked her to look after me for a while. They'd be back in 3 months. As the call ended, I slowly realized my mom only knows one big aunt. Her childhood friend Ben's mom. I had no time to refuse when Wendy showed up. Packed me and my luggage and took me to her house. As we got out of the car, Wendy said, Ben's probably gaming. Let's head in. I awkwardly followed with my suitcase. Wendy called out downstairs, no reply. She took me upstairs and showed me to a room. This is your room. See if you like it. Simple style. I liked it. Wendy let me unpack and rest, while I prepared to wash my face. As I reached for the bathroom handle, someone suddenly pushed the door open from inside. I gasped and fell backward. Ben grabbed my wrist. His other hand cushioned my head. But the momentum made us face plant into each other. Strangely, his mind was blank. Am I dreaming? Ben stared into my eyes, bewildered. I felt awkward under his gaze and looked away, leading to another surprise. Ben was only wrapped in a towel. He noticed my stare, quickly tightened the towel, retreated to the bathroom and came out in sweatpants. Why are you here? I need to stay at your place for a while. Ben relaxed. My mom mentioned someone coming. It's you, I nodded. Without speaking, Ben scratched his wet hair, awkwardly explaining. My room's shower broke. Thought my guest was a guy, took a bath. Our house is soundproof. Didn't hear you come in. All right, I'll be outside then. We brushed past each other. She smells good and feels soft and adorable. Ben thought, awkwardly leaving with mismatched steps. What's happening in this world? I opened the bathroom door, spotting a pair of blue boxers in the laundry bin. Ben rushed in, grabbed the boxers and dashed out, leaving a blur. When I walked out again, there Ben stood in a jacket, fresh sneakers and meticulously styled short hair, striking a deliberately posed cool lean on the stairs. Got a date? Ben coughed. Nonsense. I was at a loss for words. You dressed like that looking sharp. Ben blushed, then turned pale. I dressed like this at home. Just then Wendy came upstairs from downstairs, with a SpongeBob onesie in her hands. Son, don't leave your clothes all over the place. Ben grabbed the clothes and bolted away again, leaving Wendy and me staring at each other wide-eyed. The next morning Ben was waiting in the living room, pecking away at a slice of bread. Like a chick. Seeing me come downstairs, he stuffed the remaining bread into his mouth, pretending he just finished. I'm off to school. I was about to head out with him when Wendy quickly handed me some eggs and milk. Make sure to eat breakfast. What a sweet daughter-in-law, shouldn't be starved thin. I wonder if that boy knows how to seize the opportunity. Ben's rich inner world must be inherited, huh? Even though we lived together. At school we acted like we barely knew each other. Until after school. Everyone was packing up. And Ben stood at the back door, watching me slowly move around, impatiently urging Linda, hurry up. It's getting late to go home. The whole class went silent at those words. A guy who skips classes and gets into fights, telling me he's punctual. Is this a joke? And you might as well get a megaphone with that loud voice. I rolled my eyes at him and walked right past. He casually took my bag, cheerfully saying, going home. Taking Linda home. That evening after school, Ben surprisingly didn't call for me. Instead, he left abruptly. I thought it over and decided to check out the alley behind the school. It had been a while since school got out, so there weren't many people around the alley. Before I got close, I heard Ben's voice. You better behave yourself. I stepped a bit closer and saw Ben's back with about 5 or 6 people around him, and I saw who they had cornered. Eric. He looked at me with a complicated expression. Linda. Ben turned and looked at me, his expression a bit panicked. Why are you here? I frowned at him. What are you doing? Aren't you going home? Ben was momentarily stunned. What? I said, are you going home or not? Going. His crew looked baffled. Ben, aren't we going to teach him a lesson? Ben waved them off and trotted out of the alley with me. We'll stop here for today. I'm going home. On the way, I asked Ben why he was messing with Eric. Ben gave me a glance. You worried about him. Me, let's put it this way. If someone beat him to death, I'd be the first to clap. So you don't like him. Ben stopped walking and I turned around puzzled. Isn't it obvious? And why are you smiling? I'm not smiling. Ben hurried ahead. I was a bit speechless. Hey, at least tighten your smile when you deny it. Even if Ben didn't tell me, I figured it out. The midterm results came out. And Eric dropped from the top 10 in the grade to 50th. There were rumors going around the class that I had been pestering Eric, the class president in my old class. When he rejected me, I publicly beat him, affecting his grades. I pieced it together. Eric didn't manage to cheat this time. Didn't do well and needed to make excuses. So he chose me as the scapegoat. Ben must have known something, so he went to warn him. But Eric miscalculated this time. That night, I cornered him in the stairwell and cryptically said, I know what you did. His pupils dilated and he began internally confessing, even wondering if I knew about him. Stealing from the grocery store back in elementary school. I compiled a document of these incidents and sent it to him. The next day, Eric publicly clarified the rumors, saying his issues had nothing to do with me. He's a bit smart, but never uses his smarts the right way. Our class was changing seats. This time I ranked 5th in the class, so I got to choose seats 5th. Ben didn't need to choose. The entire class naturally left the last window seat for him, so he sat there from the start. The 4 students before me went in one by one, mostly picking 3rd or 4th row seats. When it was my turn, I immediately spotted Ben in the last row, pretending to read a comic while sneaking glances at me. I sat next to him without much thought. Mind if I sit next to you? He mumbled whatever. Soon after he asked why not sit in the front. The light is better here. Then I saw him sneakily pull the curtains back a bit. Let the sunlight in for Linda. Ben suddenly started studying. It was as surprising as the sun rising in the west. So when he threw his math homework on my desk asking for help, I was puzzled. What's up? He pointed his chin up. I want to score higher than that guy from class A by the final exam. But this is a freshman level problem. And you got it wrong. Ben took his homework back, face turning red, and said I'll catch up. He signed up for after-school tutoring and studied late into the night. After school, I started going home alone and it felt a bit strange. Friday was New Year's Eve. Before heading to tutoring, Ben swaggered around my desk with his bag. Hey, don't go to bed too early tonight. I have something to talk to you about when I get back. Ben, then I'll take that as a yes. If I get back and you're sleeping, I won't wait for you tomorrow morning. But tomorrow's a holiday. He stormed off in a huff. I watched him leave feeling a mix of emotions. He likes me. I don't know what he sees in me, but his intense affection makes me a bit scared. In my past life, Eric hurt me deeply, leaving me mentally and physically exhausted. Most people are like that, hiding their true selves. I'm scared Ben is too. It was my turn for classroom duty today. After I cleaned everything up, I went to the bathroom. Just finished rinsing the mop. Was about to wash my hands when I suddenly heard someone locking the door from outside. Something felt off, so I rushed to push the door, but it wouldn't budge. Then I heard a girl's sharp voice from outside. It's your fault. Eric hasn't been happy these days. He doesn't like you. So why did he stick up for you last time? You must have been pestering him again. Linda, this is a lesson for you. Stay away from him. I was speechless. Are you insane? The footsteps outside faded away. I took a few steps back and kicked the door hard. But it didn't move. I tried for a long time until I was exhausted. Eric is indeed quite impressive and not lacking in admirers. After all, I used to be one of them in the previous world. But I never expected anyone to go this crazy. Breathing heavily, I slumped against the wall. The light wouldn't turn on. Probably because the power was cut. Through the high window, I looked at the moon and in that moment thought of Ben. If only he were here. Would he think I've gone to bed? When he gets back tonight and get mad again? All sorts of random thoughts swirled through my mind. I don't know how much time passed before I suddenly heard Ben's voice. Linda. I snapped awake and rushed to the door. I'm here. Ben quickly came over. He tried to break the lock from the outside. Without success. He cursed under his breath. Gave the door a hard kick. Then ran outside the school building. Soon, he was hoisting himself up onto the high windowsill. and with one agile move, jumped down into the bathroom. Panting, he looked at me. "You all right?" I shook my head. Seeing there's no way out from inside, Ben decided to take me through the window. He climbed out first. It wasn't too high with a platform to land on midway. He reached out a hand to me. "Come on." Once I was mentally prepared, I placed my hand in his. "My fault." "What's that?" "Not protecting her." I looked at his stoic face, momentarily stunned. Then I slept. Ben was carrying me on the way home. Under the dim streetlights, I looked at his shadow and listened to his thoughts. Sigh, she's so clumsy. What would she do without me? Good thing I'm here. She seems lighter. Has she lost weight? I rolled my eyes. You talk too much. What? I said. What if I could hear your thoughts? Do you believe that? Ben chuckled. Nope, unless you tell me what I'm thinking right now. I bumped my arm into his neck. I like you. At some point it started snowing and the wind stopped. I paused for 2 seconds. You're thinking about how fat I am. Ben adjusted me. You're underestimating me, Linda. I'm strong. Really strong. I thought of my previous concerns. And found them laughable. How could I ever compare Ben to Eric? Eric's all mixed signals, but Ben's heart. I hear it loud and clear. Twisting my ankle. Ben found some ointment for me when we got home. Then went looking for a bandage. I sat in the living room bored. And accidentally pulled out an album from under the coffee table. On the first page was a photo. A little girl striking a pose at the elementary school entrance with a little boy looking at her adoringly. Isn't that me? And the boy looks just like a smaller Ben. Turns out we went to the same elementary school. I randomly grabbed a book. And inside was a signature in flamboyant handwriting. I was stunned. In the previous world, after my parents passed, I struggled to keep the family business afloat. During the hardest time, I received life-saving investment funds. The investor's signature was just an abstract scribble. Exactly like the one in front of me now. I can now vaguely recognize it as Ben's. So in the other world he was never a stranger to me. It was close to midnight. And Ben didn't tell me anything. So I was getting ready for bed. Suddenly I heard Ben's excited shout from the balcony. Linda. Come to the balcony. I hopped over, looking down. Ben stood in the yard wearing a coat. Countless starlights wrapped around the bare branches. Twinkling like stars in the galaxy. They shined bright and white. Ben's face lit up with excitement. Want to set off fireworks? I grinned yes. I headed to the stairs and Ben stood there already. LED me out to the yard and ran to light the fireworks. As colors burst into the sky he glanced at me. It's New Year's Eve. Make a wish. Did you make one? What was it? He smirked smugly, not telling. My hand rested on his wrist. May my Linda always be safe and happy in the future. I smiled. I hope Ben can always protect me. Ben seemed taken aback. What? What does she mean by that? Don't guess I'm confessing. All his thoughts halted. As the only thing he heard was his heartbeat. I met his gaze. I've fallen for you, Ben. Boom, crackle, whoosh. The girl who locked me got punished. As Ben insisted on checking the footage to find her. He really is like a knight, protecting me so well. A month before finals, my unreliable parents finally came back. After moving out of Ben's, he often wandered to my doorstep. Dressed adorably in sportswear. Pretending to need glasses. One time my mom caught him. Is that Ben? Haven't seen you in years, almost didn't recognize you. Got business with Linda. Ben awkwardly, it's my birthday tomorrow. Just passing by. Wanted to ask if she's coming. Just her. Ben quickly tried to explain. No, it's a lot of classmates. But when I got to the place Ben mentioned, I realized most of the classmates were just a bunch of his little followers. They were all ridiculously touched. It was the first time Ben invited us for his birthday. He must consider us real friends. I was genuinely moved. Ben was super happy today. He couldn't stop smiling. I watched him grin at me like a goofball and just rubbed my forehead quietly. After dinner I took out a stuffed toy dog from my bag. I remembered chatting with Wendy, who told me Ben lost a cherished stuffed dog toy when he was a kid and had been missing it for years. I spent forever tracking down one that looked similar from old pictures. I handed the toy to Ben and he was stunned. I chuckled and said, "It's just a little toy kinda like you. Happy birthday, Ben the pup." Ben's ears turned red out of nowhere. All the guys around were in shock. The gifts they gave hadn't gotten much reaction. But this little toy seemed to mean a lot to him. Was it the nickname? We figured calling him a pup wouldn't work. We were used to calling him boss. A few of them exchanged glances and cautiously said, "Happy birthday, dog boss." On the way back, Ben's hand was red from punching people. In early June, the campus was filled with blooming silk trees as we headed into the college entrance exams. I did pretty well and got into the same university as I did in the original world. C University. While Ben got into a neighboring university in the same city. As for Eric, I didn't bother finding out. I heard he didn't do well and had to repeat a year. But it didn't matter anymore. He had nothing to do with me now. On the day we submitted our college choices, a guy handed me a love letter. He was blushing as he passed the envelope to me in the hallway. "Linda, I've really noticed you for a long time. I hope you give me a chance." How long is a long time? He hesitated. 2 months ago. I often saw you studying in the library. Not long enough. I knew someone who noticed me back when I was chubby and plain. I smiled and said, "You might have to wait in line though." Wait in line? I gestured behind him, where Ben was, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, looking like trouble. I grinned. "Let you cut in line and he won't like it." The guy didn't say more and quickly left. Ben walked over, his eyes on the letter in my hand. "Just a letter and you're happy?" I ignored him and turned to leave. He caught my sleeve, looking all kinds of pitiful. "Don't read that one. I'll write you a better one. One letter. One every year." Epilogue, December 8, 2022. "Sir, you can't park here." I glanced at the time, tapping my fingers on the steering wheel as I reluctantly drove forward. At the corner, I slowed down as a girl wearing a beige coat and carrying coffee passed by. My gaze never left her. "It's been so long, Linda." I drove in circles for half an hour waiting for her. I hadn't seen her in 2 years. She seemed thinner and more put together. At the end of my 4th year of college, my family called, asking if I would meet a girl they thought I'd like. I was busy with a startup abroad, and thought I'd refuse. But my mom said, "Don't be too hasty, Ben. You might remember her. You both went to the same kindergarten. She's Linda, my good friend's daughter." I paused. When I didn't reply, my mom continued, "Just think of it as making a friend. If you don't like her, it's a good excuse to see your parents. You haven't been back in years." "All right." I agreed, bought the soonest flight back and rushed home. For the meet-up, I got a new suit tailored, styled my long hair and wore nerdy gold-rimmed glasses. Linda seems to like that style. I hope she wouldn't remember the hot-headed teenager I was in high school. I arrived at the restaurant half an hour early, taking deep breaths as I waited for her. "Hello, I'm Linda." A crisp voice echoed. I looked up to see Linda sitting across from me, reaching out her hand. My last memory of her was from high school. That cute girl with a bit of baby fat, fair skin and big eyes. Now she's a bit slimmer. Still smiling warmly, I pretended to be calm, smiling as I extended my hand. "Hi, I'm Ben." "Ben?" She frowned slightly, looking a bit puzzled. I gave an awkward smile and said, "The Ben you know. We went to the same high school, class 8. I was kind of a dork, a bit embarrassing." Linda politely shook her head. "You were cool for that age back then." During the meal she hesitated before apologizing. Said she had a boyfriend starting in high school, Eric. I had expected it, but it still felt like a punch in the gut. I shrugged it off, pretending it didn't bother me. "I got dragged into this too." Visibly she relaxed, exhaling slowly. "See. Affections one holds dear can be trivialized into a joke to others." After that we had an easy conversation. Every now and then she sneaked glances at her phone, probably chatting with someone. Smiling unconsciously. "It's nice." She seemed to be doing well. The meal inevitably came to an end, and I couldn't help but call out one more time, "Linda." She paused. I smiled. "You look like you're doing great. You'll be even better." "It's my blessing." The dinner over, I headed back abroad the next day, diving nonstop into my startup. Linda had a Facebook account where she'd post about her life, which I stumbled upon accidentally. Whenever things got tough, I'd check her updates for motivation. But in October this year her account stopped updating. Until a week ago she posted, "There's no one left who loves me in this world." I called home and learned from my mom that Linda's family had gone through a lot. I thought long and hard. Do I still have a place in her life? It seemed like we circled each other our whole lives. Same kindergarten. Same elementary school. Even ended up in the same high school. But never truly crossed paths. Oh, by the way, I also went on a blind date once. To everyone else. We should be strangers or at best acquaintances. But that's not how I see it. As a kid I grew. Slowly and was much shorter than other kids in elementary school. Then Linda came along. In just a week at school. She managed to smack around all those mischievous boys. Every time she saw my snacks being snatched. She couldn't understand. You need to fight back. You gotta be fierce, you know. For 3 years in elementary school. I was her little sidekick. I have a good memory. I remember all that stuff. But Linda. She forgets things fast. In junior high. I would often bike half an hour out of my way. Just to circle around her school. Maybe I'd get lucky and run into her. But luck wasn't on my side. I only ran into her once in 3 years. That time. She was buying some fried skewers at a school stand. I stood there frozen listening to her chat with friends. David is so handsome. So bold. I really like guys who make me feel secure. When will I meet my David? After they left I just stood there. I couldn't get those words out. Long time no see. Do you remember me? Until the vendor asked what I wanted to eat. I mindlessly said. Same as what that girl got. Finally we ended up in the same high school. I grew taller and tougher. Not only did I not get bullied anymore. But I actually became known as the school bully. For my bad temper. Was this the kind of security Linda was talking about? I'd often wander to her building. Once I saw her in the corridor. Our eyes met and she quickly looked away. And clumsily ran off with her friend. That had to be fear. I was bummed I noticed her. Giving food to some guy in her class a few times. His name was Eric. He was kind of nerdy, wore glasses. Who knew that as we got older? The type we liked would change. Once again I was a step too late. Always a step behind. But honestly I never thought much of that guy. In the second semester of freshman year. I went by her classroom again and found Linda. Clutching her stomach. Looking pale standing in the hallway. Then she fainted. And that Eric guy. He just stepped back. Like he was afraid he'd get in trouble. I was fuming. I rushed over. Shoved Eric aside. And carried Linda to the nurse's office. Semi-conscious she thanked me from my back. That was the first thing she'd said to me in years. I should have introduced myself afterward. But remembering how she'd looked at me so weary before. I couldn't. The next time we met she already had a boyfriend. This time after 2 sleepless nights. I bought a plane ticket back home. I didn't suddenly grow a pair. I just felt that maybe she needed me. Today is day 3. I'm waiting in my car outside her office. She shows up for work on time but looks worn out. Her family's business is in trouble. And she's barely holding the company together. While I'm on the phone. With my assistant. About securing some investments for her. He updates me on something else. A company back home is keen on partnering with us. I glance at the name of the contact. Eric. Seems like I could handle this for Linda. I'll see what I can do. So I spend about 2 weeks setting up Eric. He thinks he's hooked a big deal. Bets everything on it. Even uses his girlfriend's family assets on a project that's bound to fail. When he loses it all his eyes are bloodshot. Frantically stopping my car. You played me, you tricked me. But I followed your lead. You lost a lot too, what are you after? Sitting in the car I stared coldly back for fun maybe. Security dragged him away. As he struggled. I chuckled. Don't compare all you've got to my spare change. You think I lost a lot. That little bit of money was worth it. To see you lose everything. He screamed on the sidewalk losing it. And I figured the cops would soon be on his tail. I didn't want to waste any more time on him. Not when I had someone important to see today. Linda's family business was starting to rebound. Largely thanks to my investment. Linda reached out multiple times wanting to meet. So I arranged to meet at the restaurant. Where we went on that blind date. I'm 25 now, but sitting here feels like I'm 15 again. Anxious waiting at the table. Hi. A familiar voice. I looked up. Linda was wearing a white dress. Walking toward me in the light. With a slightly surprised look on her face. Is it you, Ben? I nodded, it's me. Linda paused, seeming to realize something. And then smiling. She extended her hand. Let me introduce myself again. Ben, hi, I'm Linda. I reached out and grasped the dream of my life. Hi, my Linda.